Hello everyone, I'm day weather meteorologist Don Day with your Public Lands Council weekly weather update for this July 8th, 2023. It's being brought to you by WSR Insurance Services Incorporated, also being brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors. Well, the weekly update is going to have the following high points. The hottest areas will be in the far southern and western areas of the western United States, so the Great Basin, Arizona, parts of the Central Valley of California, the deserts of California, up into the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be hot in those areas. Then south along the U.S.-Mexico border, then along the Gulf Coast through Texas and into those areas. That's where the hottest areas are going to be in the country, while temperatures will be a bit more moderate in the northern plains, the east slopes of the Rockies, and the central and northern Rockies. There's going to be some Canadian influence, and that's going to keep temperatures from getting too hot. They're going to be warmer, but no real extreme heat. The Corn Belt has been able to pick up rain over the last couple of weeks, and more rain is coming, so they're getting some help there. Thunderstorm activity, again, is in the mix. Now, we've had a lot of severe weather in many areas of the western high plains and Rockies over the last several weeks. We're going to see thunderstorm activity still going on. It may not be as widespread and as severe, but thunderstorms in the central, west central areas, the high plains, still going to be a factor. Taking a look at the last 7 days, you can see there's been some good rains in parts of the Corn Belt, parts of the Great Lakes, into the Dakotas, along the east slopes of the Rockies, then out into the southern plains areas here. Very active weather. This is where a lot of severe weather has been. Back across the Great Basin, the western slope of Colorado, into these areas here, the monsoon moisture just has not kicked in yet, so the areas have been there very, very dry. The latest drought monitor, something interesting, all of the state of Colorado now, look at that, completely out of drought. And many areas of the far west continue to see drought improvement, while drought conditions continue to be at their worst in this area here, although they have been able to pick up some more rain, but more rain is needed before these drought areas are going to shrink. But there is going to be a good chance that they're going to be picking up more rain here. So the drought monitor, especially compared to a year ago, still looking much, much improved in the west as we go now into our midsummer season. And you can see the latest soil moisture profile is showing that a lot of the west enjoying either average or above average soil moisture. Now the Pacific Northwest there is drying out, and you can see into the Corn Belt there, those dry areas persisting. Now, over the last week, if some of you in those blue areas have thought that, it's not a very warm start to July, it's been downright chilly, well, this is the temperature anomaly for the first 7 days of July. Definitely cool along the east slopes of the Rockies from the prairie provinces of Canada all the way to the panhandle of Texas. The last week has certainly cooled off. On either side, temperatures have been at or a little bit above average, and you can see the heat here building in these areas to the west. And this is where this area I'm drawing is where the real heat is going to be over the next 7 days. You can see this. This is the forecast between now and the end of next weekend. The heat is going to be into the Great Basin, parts of the desert southwest, and into western areas of Canada, and then along the Gulf Coast here. Very, very warm in Arizona, New Mexico, the western slopes of Wyoming, Colorado, parts of northern and western Montana, then back into the Pacific Northwest, except the coastal areas will have that marine influence, keeping temperatures from getting too hot there. But it is going to be quite warm here. And look at the coolness from central Canada through the Great Lakes. The next 10 days, very, very cool relative to average along the east slopes of the Rockies and out into the plains. So the middle part of the country just not heating up. And that's going to continue. As you take a look at the forecast chart for this upcoming weekend, we've got a deep cold low here in Hudson Bay that's stalled out, and the winds aloft are coming in from the north behind it, and that's drawing in the cooler air along the east slopes of the Rockies into the plains. While this high pressure here in the south is where the heat's going to be. From the Florida coast through the desert southwest through Mexico, the southern Rockies, this weekend, that's where the hottest weather will be. And a week from now, notice this is next Saturday. That Hudson Bay storm is still there, pumping in cooler air into the plain states, while the heat will build more into the west coast, into the desert southwest, and the Great Basin states. So as we get into next week and by next weekend, very hot weather in the south and the southwest, but at the same time, basically views Interstate 80 as a dividing line, north and Along and north of Interstate 80, temperatures are going to be cooler than average, and that's where the best chances of rain will be, and you can see that. With the cool air meets the warmer air is where the showers and thunderstorms north and east of this line are going to be the most prominent. The monsoon moisture now starting to show up late next week and next weekend into Arizona and New Mexico in the form of showers and thunderstorms, and there will probably be more shower and thunderstorm activity here than the model is showing. As late next week and next weekend, we see that monsoon moisture flow, maybe bringing some needed rain to parts of New Mexico and Arizona in the Four Corners region as we go into the middle part of the month. Have yourself a great week ahead. See you next week.